I think the ultimate goal of human experience is to find purpose in moving this world towards more love.
Welcome to the mess.
On the surface she looks fine, but what's inside ain't always in line. Life is good, life is bad. She's a mess, but a happy one.
Hi, I'm Littlehappymess and welcome to my podcast.
Story time! Hello, welcome back to a new episode 31, Finding Joy and Purpose. This is the Little Happiness podcast and I'm Nina, I'm your host. Today will be in English, as you might have realized already, because to me it's a really deep topic, and whenever it gets deep, I feel more confident talking in English, and that's because all of my because I've been journaling since I'm like 10 or something, and as soon as I started learning English at school, I started journaling in English because to me it felt like a secret language, not so secretive anymore. But whenever it gets to emotional stuff or emotional topics, even in my head I still think in English and I write stuff down in English. So to me it remained my let's say my love language, my emotional language, my language of connection, kinda, to myself and to the deeper topics in this world. So that's why, I'll continue switching between German and English. Anyways, today's episode is about purpose. Why? Because finding purpose for me kind of saved my life. It gave me perspective. It gave me the will to continue living, because I have those phases where I still struggle. And finding why I'm here, what's the big task I came to this earth for, why I was born, helps me to to accept all the difficulties that I'm facing and all the mental states that I slide down into, and it just helps me to cope better. I always remember, that I always had like really big questions. So I remember like stuff from when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, where I had those phases, mostly when I was depressed actually, where I asked really deep questions like why are humans alive? What am I here for? Why is there a planet Earth? And I didn't really find answers for that, because the way I grew up, and I guess most Europeans grow up like that, or not most Europeans, I'm only talking about myself right here, like everybody who's not growing up religiously, if that's a word, we don't really, like, if you don't believe, or if you don't have an education in how to talk to God, or to believe in God, or to believe in something bigger, it's hard to cope with all those big questions. I'm not saying that religion really solves all of that, but at least you have some kind of, at least you can, so that's what Christianity says. I'll say what some other big thinkers say or whatsoever, but if you mainly focus on science and view life from a very technical perspective, and also get a very technical perspective in school, always stay on the surface of life really, then it's hard to find a place to turn through with those bigger questions, I don't know it. For the Germans now, the Satz of Pythagoras won't solve my big problems. You know what I'm saying? So you don't really know where to turn to in school if your parents are not really talking about this kind of stuff, or they're not religious or spiritual in any kind of way, then you can't talk to them either. So you really kind of stuck with that, because I'm pretty sure that, you know, when you're 15 and you're trying to be really cool, which I really wasn't, but I still tried, you don't really talk to your friends about that either, because, you know, like, it's just not really cool, kind of. So it's really hard. Like, who do you turn to with those questions? So I always turn to my journals, but yeah, obviously when you're just talking to yourself, you remain with a lot of question marks because you don't really have like answers or anything. It's just you and those big questions. And then I always put them back away when I was feeling better, because then I really didn't care so much. And I then remember when I was in Colombia, that I had my first I would say that this is when my journey to enlightenment or towards enlightenment started. So my personal journey, where I've not really, I found my first answers, kind of. I was reading Eckhart Tolle now, but in Spanish, and I don't even remember why I bought this book, because I wasn't into anything. Like, I was like the complete opposite of spiritual. I thought all of that is stupid. I was the complete opposite of religious, because I thought all of that is stupid. But also I was seeking answers, and I guess El Poder de la Hora kind of inspired me. And then I started reading it, and I think like 70% I didn't get, either because it was in Spanish or it was because it was revealing very deep truths and I really wasn't there. But it gave me some really important impulses. And then I remember that I was traveling with two friends who were actually both at the time already, so in 2015, they were already like really into spirituality, and they kind of taught me a lot, and it was really small things, but it set a starting point. And I learned how to meditate, for example. I went to a meditation seminar with one of the friends. She was like, "Oh, do you want to come?" And I was like, "No, that's all bullshit." And then it was really cool. So that's how it all started. And I remember, you know, the first time I was really present. So when I realized what presence, like living in the now, feels, it's a really, like, not an interesting example, but I was sitting in the Amazon forest, sitting somewhere. I don't know what I was doing, but someone was pouring water, like from some plastic can into a glass, so really nothing important, but I still remember like the water flow. I was just focused on that, and everything else was turned off. And it was really like beautiful moment to me, because it was so calm, and I realized that like I don't even have like there is no problems, there is no obligations really. It's just I was just living, you know, and I was enjoying the moment, and it was really beautiful, because up until I was, how old was I then? 21. I never had an experience like that, and I've never lived in the now. I've always lived in the future. You know, what am I gonna do next? I always tried to be the best student, be liked by everyone. You know, follow this really like career paths and this general path. Like, okay, like I'm gonna have a lot of money when I'm 28. Which I am now, and I don't have a lot of money. And I'm gonna marry, and I'm gonna have kids. Still want that, but let's see how that goes. But like this really classic path, and I never, never like dared to kind of like go somewhere else. I always did that in like my free time, but like mainly I had to focus on make a lot of money, be, you know, like be liked by everybody, be successful, and have this image of success and people looking up to me and all that kind of stuff that I've mentioned a lot before. But whenever I was not feeling good, I questioned all of that, because truly, like, on a deeper level, that didn't make me happy. That, like, satisfied my ego, which I didn't know back then. But it never satisfied my heart, or something deeper. Wisdom. Yeah. So how did the journey continue? I was getting more into personal development and spirituality after Colombia, and still have those two friends that inspired me. And really the biggest kind of, well, actually the most transformative experience in that kind of way was when I had the suicidal attempt in 2020. So when I was ready to, like, give everything up, but then failed, which was at that point very hard for me, because when you're ready to give everything away, but then you're still here, it's a really, 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 really fucked up situation for everybody. And I knew that, I don't know, like, I knew that on some deeper level that I had to stay, like, I failed this for a reason. This was a wake-up call, not for something bigger. I don't feel like I'm better than anyone else, or I'm made for greater stuff or whatsoever, but I knew that it had a reason that I was still here, that my time hasn't come yet, and that there's some stuff that I still need to do, and I need to figure out what it is, in order to not live a miserable life. Because this, when you have suicidal thoughts, or when you're suicidal, and also when you're depressed, it's like, it's so hard to endure all that pain. It's so, like, you just want out of it, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want to die, but I just wanted out of all those pain and those thoughts, and to endure that, you really need, like, a strong, you need something, so that you know that it's worth it to go through all this terrible, terrible pain, that I've never been able to put it into words, but it's beyond everything. It's so painful. I always wished for it to be on the surface, like to have, I don't know, to have some disease, so that I can explain it to people, that they would understand, because you cannot describe, like, mental pain. It's just awful. Anyways, I knew that this mental pain won't go away. It will stay, because I've tried a lot, and I need to find some way to cope with it. And I began my journey towards purpose, really. So I was searching for answers, why I was alive, why I was here, what was my purpose here, what do I need to do here on earth, why did I come here? So all those questions that I already wrote down when I was like 12 or something, and then later too, I was seeking answers, but this time for real, because I knew that this time it was really, really, really important. So I actually went to a monastery, for example. I talked to monks, and I really hated it there, so I left. And then I listened to all the podcasts I found out there, and I watched so many YouTube videos. And then I did a really cool course, which was called Life Visioning by Michael Beckwith. And this was when I actually found my purpose. So when I was able to, do exercises, do meditations, do visualizations that guided me towards finding what I was here for. So he's a really cool teacher, and his calm, like peaceful kind of way really inspired me. And the way he talks, there's people that when they talk, every word is chosen wisely, and you kind of find wisdom every word they speak. He's one of those kind of people. So with him and his course, it really helped me to know what I was here for, and I found my purpose in actually trying to help people find their purpose, so that they find more joy in their lives. But really, like the most important thing to me is to help people stay alive, so that they don't have to commit suicide, that they don't have to, that they have something that helps them to endure their pain. I really like what Viktor Frankl said when he was in the concentration camp. He realized, and he also wrote that in a book that I'll link later, that if your purpose is being happy, then with the first, I don't know how to say it in English, but like with the first hit from one of the keepers you get in the concentration camp, all of that, drifts away, like your foundation crumbles. So you need something deeper, something bigger, in order to survive life's conditions, which sometimes are just not that nice and not that favorable. So I have all my mental kind of stuff, and then other people have other things to cope with. So chronic illnesses, cancer. Then there's people who lost a loved one, who have gone through traumatic experiences or are still going through them. So we all have been experiencing or are experiencing or will experience really like bad stuff, and we'll all get to a point where we're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe not like in a suicidal kind of way, but still, where we're desperate and we feel hopeless and we don't have the energy anymore, and there's absolutely no motivation. And to me, that if we found some kind of purpose, then we can go through this bad time, because we know that there's still a reason why we're here, and that there is something bigger, and that we're not allowed to give up. So even when we've experienced so much shit, it has a reason that we're here, and it's important that we give the gifts that we have, that we give them out to the world, and that we do what we're meant to do here on this earth. I strongly believe in that, and I strongly believe that everybody has some kind of purpose, and that everybody's purpose can vary a little bit. Maybe like the way I'm trying to fulfill my purpose is not the one I was meant for example. So maybe I was not meant to do everything that I'm doing right now, but I know that I'm on the journey where I'm open to find answers, so that I can give back to this world, that I can inspire love in this world, that I can be part of creating a better world. And ultimately, I think that's everyone's obligation or purpose here on this earth. And not everybody has to be, a healer or a doctor. There's lots of other things that create love. If you're a passionate baker or cook, or chef, or if you have a passion for makeup, or it doesn't really matter. It's just that when we do something that we feel passion for, then we can inspire other people, and then we can create love. And I think that's the ultimate goal, that we're out there, that we're kind, that we are compassionate, that we care for each other, that we stop thinking about all those superficial things like money, fame, success, because ultimately this can come. So that's what I always think, like, if it comes into my life, I'm not gonna say no, but it shouldn't be what I live for, or what anybody else should live for. What we should live for is to be happy, to be fulfilled, to inspire love, to be passionate, to love what we're doing, and to have deep experiences, including like deep sadness and despair, because that's all part of life. But always knowing that that we're here for a reason. And I love when I'm like, I don't know, like on a day like today where I'm just angry for no reason. And then at some point, today was when I was running, I remember that, you know, I have to laugh about all those little problems, like, and this doesn't work, and I hate doing this work, and and then I'm like, yeah, but it, like, those problems really don't matter. And that's what happens when we connect to something bigger, when we give our life like a higher sense. That all those small problems, like he doesn't like me, and she's not my best friend anymore, and oh my god, I have so much work, and I hate hanging out with my parents, or whatever it is. Like we don't mind anymore, because we know that it doesn't matter, and that every moment that we're alive is precious. Actually, even when we're in big despair, it's still precious to have this gift of being able to experience it. Because, and I will always repeat that for myself and for others, when I feel really shitty, it's awful, but whenever I'm out, I'm not grateful for the experience, but it gives me a bigger understanding, and I become more joyful every time afterwards. I become humble, and I realize how grateful I am to be alive, and I focus more on the bigger questions. To me, I think it's always like if someone would say, Nina, remember, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Stop being so up in your ego. Focus back on what really matters in life. And yeah, I always do afterwards, and I try to integrate spiritual practices and everything that connects me with humanity and also the divine, because I started to believe in God, I started to believe in something bigger out there, and I start to integrate more and start to gather more information, start to spend more time in personal presence, in meditation, and whatsoever. And I can recommend this to anybody out there, because you know, even if you don't believe in God or spirituality or anything, you build such a cool and strong connection to yourself, to your body, to your mind, and you start knowing like you can regulate everything in your body. And with that, if you're interested in spirituality and all that, you start building a connection, something bigger, and you know how much influence you have, because you realize how connected you are to everything, because ultimately everything is energy. And I don't want to get too much into that right now. That's something for a whole new episode. But yeah, I guess that's it for today. For the material. So I hope you liked this episode. Today I got a little bit, drifted away, and then I was going with the flow, so got my notes right here. I think I said like 2 things off them. It was not very structured, but I hope you got the message, which is that purpose is what keeps us going, what gives us inspiration, motivation to get up and to go out there, to do things that we're scared of, and to live fully, truthfully, and inspire others to do so too, to live compassionate, to inspire love. And that's what I wish for, and that's what I hope I'm creating in everything I do, not just with work, so with, I don't know, this podcast, for example, but also in everyday life. So when I go out there and I meet my neighbors, I try to inspire love, like to always focus on that. And I hope that you will do that too. And the further material part that we're actually in. So how is the book called? I forgot, but it's it's from Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl. When he was in Auschwitz, I think he was. So when he was in one of the concentration camps, and he wrote a book, and then later on a whole therapy formed around it. I still want to do that, but it's so expensive. It's called logotherapy, I think. And yeah, I linked the book in the description below or in the show notes. And it's really worth it to read, but it's also, so I cried a lot because sometimes it gets really deep. So try to be in a good mental place when you read it. Yeah, so if you like this episode, which I hope, then leave me a comment, leave me a like. Share this episode with your friends, with your family. Share it on social media, that would be awesome, so that I can, gain a bit more reach. And yeah, I wish you an awesome week. Try to be a loving human being, inspire kindness and love, and be kind to yourself as well. Goodbye.